Gentlemen, it's lovely to have you on stage. Experts through and through, seasoned experts at that. To give a quick primer to the audience, first, Dr. Apostolos Malatras is the leader of the Knowledge and Information team at the EU Agency for Network and Information Security. Dan Bogdanov is the director of the Information Security Research Institute at Cybernetica, which is the IT company behind Estonia's X-Road electronic identity solutions and much, much more around the world. Liudas Ališauskas is the director of the Lithuanian National Cybersecurity Center, and Jürgen Erm is the CEO of Cybers, the leading Nordic cybersecurity company providing solutions to both private and public sector customers. Very lovely to have you here. We will try to keep a nice balance between a more or less generalist audience. Of course, we know that we have some experts here, but also we have listeners that are joining us virtually, so we'll try to keep it somewhere in between those general and specialist levels. Perhaps let's start with a more open-ended question. The topic of cybersecurity in general and cyber resilience in particular is one, in my opinion, of collective action. The stronger we act together, the more benefits we will see. If we could focus, seeing as we have European background right now, if we could focus on Europe for a minute, where are the cyber resilience efforts aligned right now, and where is there more work to do? Let's start for the audience from left to right. Let's start with Dan.
Due to the echo, I didn't hear your last sentence. Can you repeat?
So it was about how does the current state of European cyber resilience collaboration? What's the state? Where is it good, and where could it be better?
Yes. So there is a science fiction writer I really like. His name is William Gibson, and he's blamed for coining the term cyberspace. And so he's sort of behind us calling it cybersecurity.
Thanks for that.
He has said something which resonates well with what you asked about, is that the future is already here, it's just not very evenly distributed yet. Meaning that we come to this digital summit here, and we learn from each other what the future looks like. Some of the countries have already rolled out wallets. Some of us are talking about AI in cybersecurity. Some of us are getting attacked by AI in cyber attacks. So this is sort of a thing that there are things that we can learn from each other about. Whenever there is something to learn from Estonia, I try to be behind it, and we try to be very proud about it. But today I already learned that I need to be proud about several of my fellow European countries. So a continuous exchange and collaboration, and crossing borders, and not just the ones between countries, but ones between industries. Last year, because of the atrocious things happening, we saw how civilian technologies suddenly are making a move in defense. Drones, Starlink, suddenly technologies that haven't been designed to be military grade are making major waves in the military. So there is learnings. There's learnings for us there, but on the other side, when we're building the future of these defense technologies, we need to take the best civilian cybersecurity and cryptography technologies. So breaking down borders, not just between countries, but also between like verticals and organizations.
Very well. Apostolos, what are your thoughts about this?
Thank you for having me, first of all, and thank you for the interesting question. So, as a representative for the EU Agency for Cybersecurity, I wouldn't be right in saying that we haven't done a lot of efforts towards the direction of working together and collaborating to address the issues in cyberspace and cybersecurity in general. So, are we there yet? Are we 100% a united Europe when it comes to cybersecurity? Not yet, I would say. We have done a lot of steps. So, at the technical level, we have what we call, at the European level, the CSIRT network, so the technical community of experts getting together to address such issues. At the operational level, we have the cybersecurity liaisons officer networks, the Cyclone network, where we take operational and strategic actions together for large-scale incidents. We have the NIA Network and Information Security Cooperation Group, so where we discuss issues at the policy level and what can be addressed at the EU level. So a lot of structures and a lot of fora have been introduced in order to bring together the countries to work together to address the issue of cybersecurity. And the reason for that is that there is such a need. We'll use the standard cliché that cybersecurity knows no borders. You know this, we have used it, we have abused it so many times actually. So the need to work together, to exchange information, to get collective intelligence for cyber threats, to understand what is coming down the road, or how somebody else has addressed the same issue, is there. Now, we are doing a lot of work in trying to bring these communities together and try to exchange and work better. And the main barrier towards that is the issue of trust. So we need more trust among the countries to be able to build these relationships of working together. Trust is not built in one day, clearly. It takes time to build and takes time you have to reap the benefits first, and then you invest yourself in it. And that is why it might seem to take some time, but at the European Union level, we are working towards that, yeah.
Jürgen, I mean, being based primarily in the Nordics, but also dealing with other countries, how would you view the current landscape of collaboration and where it's heading?
Yeah, also thank you from my side for having me. Also continuing on the collaboration side. First of all, I think the collaboration inside the European Union, when we talk about public sector entities who work in the cyberspace and in the cybersecurity area, at least in Estonia, have been quite well cooperating. From our experience, we actually have in incident response scenarios actually come together in some cases where we actually have went out and helped out the customer together with specialists from the governmental side, also specialists from cybersecurity companies, and also alongside we have like engaged partners from Europe to specifically handle some sort of incident situations. But sharing this kind of information, whether it be cyber attacks or like some weaknesses what are being used against our companies, our enterprises, is something that we have to collaborate on, because when we share this information with others, we can learn from that, and and will be enforcing our society as a whole. So definitely that's a way we have been already moving, but we should continue that.
Absolutely. Liudas, your thoughts in general on this collaborative spirit, but also when we think about collaboration, is there a certain cultural understanding that means that, let's say, the Baltic, national cybersecurity agencies and so on, they work more closely, or is it a very widely spread net where the Estonians work happily with the Portuguese and back and forth, or how would you view this from your angle?
Thank you for having me here. No surprise, just let's cooperate more closely. Actually, colleagues pointed out a really important point. I would say that currently we declare more cooperation than we do. I'll be honest here. The question about the Baltic states, we observe, we have relationship with the Baltic states, with Europe, with other countries, by each country bilaterally. So we still have place for improvement. And if we speak about security technologies that we develop, so this area shall be it's natural for innovation, for improvement, making better solutions. Yes, we must, or businesses or companies, probably private companies, shall compete, but in the area for cyber defense, we must be as a risk one. And it is easier to say than to do. To share useful information, it takes quite a lot of resources and competences. So I'm pretty sure, as far as I'm informed, so our Baltic states, we do have competences. So going into cooperation, it shall be operative or fast channels for information exchange. We don't have every time to share a full picture of incident or lesson learned. That's why cooperative sharing steps in, and we can share just a piece of picture. Our colleagues can add something, and step by step we can draw a whole picture how adversaries operate, their techniques, their tactics, all that. We can know enemy better. That's why we come up with the opportunity to fight against adversaries effectively.
Before I head to the next question, I would like to commend the very wise audience that has already moved to the lunch buffet. It smells excellent from stage. Please get your food and join us here for the discussion. The next question I would like to first give to Apostolos and Liudas, and then hand over to the private sector for answers. What are the big headaches when it comes to strengthening cyber resilience right now and addressing the evolving digital threat landscape? Apostolos, perhaps we can start with the European perspective.
Yep. Thank you for this. Now, usually when you try to predict something and you try to think what is coming ahead, that's when you're usually off. At ENISA, what we have been doing for many years is what we call is mapping the cyber threat landscape, trying to understand what are the threats that are currently more important and more prevalent, and what is coming down the horizon. And that we definitely do not use any crystal ball or anything like that. We try to analyze patterns from incidents, use strategic foresight, and see what is coming down the horizon. So, and of course, you always have the big events that change everything, like last year, the war of aggression against Ukraine. So the biggest challenges at the moment is definitely remains, of course, the general geopolitical situation with Russia, because it has complicated, it has opened up the threat landscape to domains that we had never seen before, disinformation, hybrid attacks, and threats coming from hacktivists and communities that were not targeting our critical infrastructures, that's for sure. Then artificial intelligence has come into play, and that might seem like a boon to a lot of people, and it is a boon. I did my PhD on the topic, so I love it, so it's amazing, but at the same time, it has complicated, as cybersecurity professionals, our lives a lot, because it brought with it a lot of great potential also for adversaries, for potential attackers. So these kind of threats are quite prevalent, and we're still in the early stage of trying to understand how they evolve and how we can counter them and how we can even detect them. And of course, I mentioned before the issue of disinformation, this kind of information pollution in the cyberspace, which at the first glance might not seem like a cybersecurity problem, but when you think about that, in cybersecurity, we rely a lot of information on cyber threat intelligence to understand what is happening around us and to be able to exchange this information with others. If this information is polluted, then our responses will also be below par. So these, I would say, would be the main three elements that I see now being the most challenging.
I greatly appreciate you referring to disinformation and so on as well. Later today, we will have a panel, among others, with the former president of Estonia, President Ilves, and the discussion will be about resilient digital societies from the cyber hygiene perspective, from information side as well. So definitely stay tuned for that one too. Liudas, what are your thoughts about this topic?
I will take the opportunity to thank ENISA, wonderful organization, produce wonderful product. I guess we all use it. No need to reinvent researches and so on and so forth. So thank you. Just to add, in Lithuania we have put focus. Effective cyber security, cyber defense system. It's not only technologies, not only competencies, but processes connect all that system, like a blood system. So everything starts from top level to cyber security experts. So this mechanism to work correctly, we emphasized, and starting next year, we'll kick off with training, cybersecurity training for C-level. Top managers. The training will not be about bytes, attack vectors, and so on, but it's about cyber threat risk management. What we observed that it could be an organization that has quite good capabilities in cyber defense, but it could not be financed enough. And the root cause for that is lack of education of decision makers, of top management, of C-level. So going that way, we expect to change decision makers to bring them knowledge that cyber threats, it's not scientific stories. Just for every person in organization to be on the same stage. So wrapping up, it's a system. No matter if we have good competences, decision makers, all processes has to be like a Swiss watch to work correctly. So I think education management in cyber threat risk management topic is as well important, or even most important area that we are focusing to.
To the private sector side of it all, where do we see the main hurdles right now? Are we all entirely satisfied with the situation? Perhaps we start with Jürgen.
Yeah. Coming back to the threat landscape part of things, so definitely we see emerging threats, whether it's coming from AI or like some new techniques developed by the threat actors. But what we see also sometimes, or we're sometimes struggling with, is when we talk with organization leaders, business owners, then explaining the same threats to them sometimes can be overwhelming. And actually you have to like take time and explain what is the risk actually behind those kind of threats that are out there. And the organization doesn't like start changing or like start taking those risks seriously before the upper management and decision makers can understand what is at risk here. And once they do, then the organization actually like shifts. And our like primary goal as security professionals is to make sure that the audience, the receiving end of the information, what we can provide to companies, is something that they actually can understand.
Dan, your insights.
Yes, so as a somewhat of a pragmatically thinking researcher, but building on the things that we've done in Estonia at least, in the long term, we need to start designing organizations and systems to be secure, not being reactive. I think you started saying that cybersecurity is very reactive. So incident response, boom. At some point I read a Gartner study where CIOs said that their main priority with regard to GDPR, like the top one thing they need to get in place was how to act if there is a breach. So that's like, okay, so let's try to do it so that the house doesn't burn down, maybe. So let's build the house differently. So for me, but that's a long-term goal, and it builds on top of what Jürgen said, first getting the same management to understand that this is a concern, to, okay, I should invest a little bit more and build for the future. But the question is that it's like the three piggies and the big bad wolf. You can have a hay house, you can have a wooden house, you can have a stone house. Many organizations on their scale of maturity are still in the hay house phase, I would argue.
Yeah. Thank you for that optimistic estimate. I'm actually going to piggyback, if you allow me that pun, on top of this, this last point of yours. We've had a time where more and more governments moved into government clouds. Then some of those governments said, actually, we're not that good at managing cloud infrastructure and so on. Let's go and talk to the local cloud providers. Some governments have said, you know what, Google, Amazon, and so on, they are the big players. They have they have more computational firepower than some countries. Let's talk to them. This reminds me personally of 2007, 2008, where banks have been too big to fail. Are we slowly moving into a tech environment where these big tech, I don't want to call them monopolies because they're not, but these big tech players, where they become too big to fail, but they carry, just like banks, national and public infrastructure with and inside of them. How would you feel about getting that balance right? Where do you stand on this? This is an open question to all of you, but perhaps Dan already has a thought.
I very much like to use clouds. I'm very happy that there are organizations in the world who have built up great technology. I don't want Europe and our countries to forget how infrastructure is built. Sorry, I'm going to make a second sci-fi reference. Isaac Asimov has this book called Foundation, where the civilization fell because they forgot how their nuclear plants worked, because everything was totally Apple-ified. It's one button and everything works, right? If you don't have skills anymore that know how your complex technologies are built and work, you can't be mature customer, you don't know what you're buying anymore. If you're outsourcing your whole operation, then you become weak, you become too dependent, and we need to have good collaborations in the world. With US, with all the likely-minded countries. That is very important. That includes using the cloud. But that means that we need to be knowledgeable and mature customers, and skill sharing is an important part of collaboration, and I'm also going to lend a hand to thank Enisa for this.
No, if I may?
Yes, of course.
Thank you for that, and I will just pick up, I agreed on the points you made. I will just pick up on the point that you mentioned that we need to be, that we're customers, essentially. So cloud is not something that is, I don't know, like magic or something. It's a product that we're using in our environments to deliver services. So it's part of the supply chain that we're using. So the key point there, as with every supplier, is to have some levels of assurance that whatever is promised will be delivered. So the notion of trust is very, very much inherent there, and needs to be taken into account when a company adopts such an approach in order to take it into the risk assessment and the risk management eventually. So for all these technologies, we need some sort of an assurance for these technologies that they offer. This, for example, now at the European level, we have certification coming along with some schemes with specific levels of assurance based on the risk level to make sure that at least we understand what risk is involved with these technologies and what are the security controls that are provided by them in order to complement perhaps with additional security mechanisms of our own, to include in our cyber culture and so forth. So again, it's a matter of a trusted relationship when you go into that environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone else who wants to chime in? Yes?
Yeah, just quick remarks on the cloud security part of things. So definitely for some organizations, moving to cloud is definitely like the better option, because if you don't have the resources, you will get the service from there that is actually secure. But to take into account the risk management part, what Apostolos said, is that have some sort of contingency plans as well, because I think it was like 1 month back, there actually was a whole data center was being taken down by ransomware actors. So you're out of data if you're just like stuck with that one data center, and a lot of customers experience very negative effects of it. So like it's not like a silver bullet to make your company secure. You have to also like choose your partners in that sense.
As the wise Dalai Lama certainly said at some point, cloud is just someone else's computer. And to have that contingency plan with your own computer would certainly be a good choice.
Well, it's not white or black. The government, private business shall not be whether on cloud or on premise. Probably it depends on the business continuity, risks. And going that way through the decision-making process, going that way in professional way, putting on your risks, making assessment, and making at the end of the day the best solution or technological solution, whether it should be just part of ecosystem, put on cloud, maybe backed up on premise. So probably that's it. And we in Europe, we have quite a wide spectrum. Some countries moved further. They are more brave, or they are more professionals, made more detailed computations to make decisions. What we observe still, Lithuania is not at least public sector, step by step. We adopt cloud technologies, yet it's not massive approach at the moment. But what we see, some countries moved further, some has strategy to not to go to the cloud. So it's all about at the end of the day, business continuity management, risks, and going through this process in professional way. Every country, public sector, private sector, can come up with the best solution, most suited solution for them.
We're slowly but surely heading towards the end of the panel. I want to make reference to the first part of the panel topic, safeguarding tomorrow. In 1 or 2 sentences, tell me, what is your wish list? What is on your shopping list for the next couple of years? things that we can tackle within a reasonable time frame to improve our overall situation. Dan?
Come back to the next digital summit to hear if Estonia managed to elect the European Parliament from a mobile phone.
Yes, actually, very good point. Apostolos?
Yes, definitely come back to the digital summit. Of course, I would love to. First time here.
Thank you for that plug, by the way. Thank you.
You should get him on your marketing team for sure. So for me, it's I would like to see cybersecurity, as the guys were saying before, to be taken a bit more seriously at the management level, to be taken more seriously as a discipline, to start looking a little bit, being more proactive about it, start identifying what are the trends coming forward, using a bit of strategic foresight like we're doing at ENISA. So cybersecurity taking a more prominent role, more investment in cybersecurity. Currently, like only 6 to 7% of critical infrastructure's investments goes to cybersecurity, which is pretty low. So this would be in my watch list.
That was one sentence that was very impressive. Thank you. Jürgen?
To keep it short, I believe that we have to take opportunity of the situation and the emerging technologies that we are getting into, because I believe that using those technologies as a cybersecurity community, maybe we can solve some of the threats that have been plaguing us for years.
Julius?
Keep calm, everything will be okay. Geniuses developed new technologies like generative artificial intelligence, quantum computing. Of course, it introduces new risks, but still on this planet we have scientists, geniuses who will help us to mitigate those risks, so everything will be okay.
Oh my God, that was a beautiful, beautiful message to end on. Thank you very much to our panelists. Dear audience members, if you have free hands, please clap. If you don't, please clap your cutlery as well. Thank you very much.